read two verses again. Luke chapter 18. I'm going to read verse 9. Then I'm going to read verse 14. When you have it, say I have it. And he spake this parable unto certain which trusted in themselves that they were righteous and despised others. Verse 14. I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other. For everyone that exalted himself shall be abased, but he that humbleth himself shall be exalted. Pray with me. Father, I stretch my hands to thee. No other help I know. Thou wilt draw thyself from me. Oh, whither shall I go? Father, I ask now in the name of Jesus that you hide me behind the cross so that the congregants won't see me, but they will only see you. Send that down that makes preaching possible. Not that I will preach a good sermon, but I will preach a sermon that will do some good. And we will forever give your name the praise, the glory, and the honor that is so rightly and richly deserved. It is in the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth we pray. Amen. I want to use for a topic this morning with your prayers and certainly the aid of the Holy Spirit. I want to use for a topic, going down to be lifted up. Going down to be lifted up. I need thee. Whoa, I need thee. My now it up. I heard this story about two preachers that were invited to speak at a relatively large conference consisting of some of the more prominent and renowned pastors and preachers in that particular organization. One was a tall, slenderly built preacher that had just received his master's degree from an esteemed theological seminary, while the other was a rather pudgy fellow that had not even started his theological training. The educated preacher was well dressed in a rather expensive tailor-made suit, new alligator shoes, a new very expensive shirt, and a silk tie and pocket square arrangement. The other preacher was dressed right off the rack. The educated preacher had driven up in an expensive car that he had rented just for this occasion, while the pudgy preacher drove up in his 7-year-old automobile. Now, although these two preachers seemed to be totally different in background and character, somehow they had lined up in the same place at the same time. The night finally arrived when both would have the opportunity to address this extensive congregation of well-renowned pastors, preachers, teachers, and missionaries. When the time came for the well-dressed, educated preacher to speak, he very pompously and arrogantly strutted toward the podium. But as he started to speak, it was easy to see and hear that something was missing. He seemed to be trying too hard to impress those who were in the audience. And the longer he spoke, the longer he went, the more evident this became. And as he sat down after seemingly botching his opportunity, he realized what just happened. The pudgy preacher was given the task to speak right before the keynote speaker. And as he rose to take his place at the podium, he seemed to be very nervous, even to the point of timidity and awkwardness. Reaching the podium, he began to speak in a way that could only be described as intimidating. He asked the Lord to have mercy on him. And as he proceeded, he became stronger and more powerful. He finished his sermon and retreated to his seat to a standing ovation and everlasting praise to God. One of the missionaries in the congregation told the other, if the educated preacher would have come in like the pudgy preacher came in, he might have went out like the pudgy preacher went out. The difference in the two was this. One was arrogant and the other was humble. One was self-sufficient and the other was God-sufficient. One thought he had it all together and the other knew he needed God to do anything if he could do it. And unfortunately, that seems to be a problem in not only the world, but in the church. Although we like to say that there are no big eyes and no little U's in the church, if you have been in the church for any amount of time, you know better than that. Whether it is because of longevity or tenure, whether it is because of family affiliation, whether it is because of financial prowess, whether it is because of the talent that you possess, whether it is because of the status, there are just some that think that they are more important and better than others. And when you think for any reason that you're better than anybody else, you're in a bad situation. Whenever you think for whatever reason that you have arrived, you're in a bad situation. Whenever you begin to trust in your own ability and cease to depend on God's ability and God's power, you're in a bad predicament. And in this text, we find Jesus speaking a parable to them that trusted in themselves, that they were righteous and despised others. Now, Jesus often spoke in parables. He spoke in the parable of the sower, Luke 8 and 4. He spoke in the parable of the rich fool, 12 and verse 13. He spoke in the parable of the mustard seed, Luke 13 verse 18. He spoke in the parable of the leaven, Luke 13 verse 20. The parable of the great supper, Luke 14 verse 15. The parable of the lost sheep, the lost coin, and the lost son, Luke 15. The parable of the dishonest steward, Luke 16. The parable of the widow and the judge, and the parable of the Pharisees and the publican. There are other parables, but we want to concentrate on this parable, the parable of the Pharisees and the publican. A parable is simply a story used to illustrate a moral or spiritual lesson. It comes from the Greek word parabole and from the Latin word translated parabola.